A lot of the advice given to like newer painters is kind of bad, because here's the thing: you don't need, the levels of what you need through the levels of how long you've been doing it are different. Like if you're brand new to miniature painting, and it's also the level of models too. This is a weird thing to me that I don't ever hear people talk about. If you're painting, like if you're brand new, let's say you're painting fantasy, you don't need to get like a full size like dragon or like really intricate models that have like, I don't know, some fancy like 3D printed elven model that's on a stump and all this stuff and a base and this and that. You just need to learn how to like basically paint just a miniature, a person or a humanoid type thing, like their skin, their hair, their clothing, the leather, the wood, and the metal, and that's it. You don't need to push yourself beyond that. You shouldn't even be worried about layering or extreme edge highlighting or especially not like the heavy metal style, like Games Workshop stuff. Like you should just be trying to get to paint on the model, drop a wash on it, do a couple highlights, and like just to get there, because no one likes to admit this, but like your first many models, unless you're like you come from like an art background or have done similar things, like your first dozen models, if not more, are gonna suck. Not suck. They're gonna be as good as you can make them at that level, but that doesn't mean that your level is like high. Like you can have high expectations, and it sucks because we all go online and go, well, I want my army, I want my space marine to look like that, or I want my druid to look like that. And it's like when you start, you can't make it look like that. It's like learning how to like skateboard or BMX bike. Like you're not going to be doing kickflips your first time skateboarding, like your first week or first month. Sometimes probably your first year skateboarding. If you're giving your kids going faster, or like on a I don't know what the hot moves on a BMX thing, but you're not going to be doing like tabletops and backflips the first time you ride a bicycle, let alone ride a BMX bike. You have to like just be basic and ride in the bike lane and just be able to go down the curb or the sidewalk. That's part of it. And with miniature painting, I feel like, because especially with adults, we feel like, well, I'm older, I can afford to buy the best paints and the best brush, and I'm gonna spoil myself. It doesn't really matter, dude. It's like buying 1,000. I don't know how much golf clubs are, but like I'm sure they're more like 3,000. What's the most expensive price for golf clubs? It's like buying a $3,000 set of golf clubs, right? Or like I surf. You can get a usable surfboard on Craigslist for like $150 to $300. If you want to be fancier, probably a little bit better on $400 or $500. If you want to buy a brand new surfboard, you could go up to $1,000 for a longboard of $3,000. So like $1,000 surfboard. No new surfer, the first year that you're surfing, probably the first 2 years, maybe the first 3, maybe never. No surfer needs a top of the line $1,000 surfboard, their first year. But there are guys like here in Southern California that will go buy that. And I feel like the paintbrush is the same way. I saw this guy like in the comments, well, you need a Kolinsky Sable and you should get like a Raphael 8404 or Winsor Newton or even Rosemary Company, which are a little bit less expensive but good brushes. And it's like, it depends what level you're at, because if you're not at a certain level, it doesn't matter what kind of brush you use. Like we teach at my store, and I teach them. I fill in for our teachers a lot. I've taught dozens, if not hundreds of these classes as well. We teach basic intro to miniature painting, and like we give out little junky like plastic, like 50-cent brushes. They're not the worst brushes. I mean, there are dollar brushes, but like they're not the worst brushes. Like kindergarten, but you'd give like an 8th grader. They're not the fanciest brushes. And honestly, for painting your first miniature, like whether it's a fantasy or a grimdark or a Star Wars or whatever, like that's all you need, dude. That's if you were going to get real fancy and want to do the eyes, you technically could come in and side paint and hit the eyes on most humanoid things, even with a crappy brush, if you rip your brush off and come at it real slow. But I just but I just get like, it's not funny to me. It's funny, but it's like annoying that people are like give people advice like, oh, you got to get this, you're a loser if you don't. And it's like, no, your first set of brushes should be like the $5 set of brushes they sell at Walmart, or and the next set of brushes should be like a $10 set of brushes you got at Walmart or like on Amazon that's slightly better. And then your first table brush, should be like a year plus into the game, and that's painting. Should be either. That's dumb. I don't like people to say that too. Like there's no absolutes, but like you don't really need a sable brush. And then people are like, I finally got a sable brush that was a game changer. The sable brush is only going to be a game changer if you have painted enough with crappier brushes to notice the difference. Because if you start with a sable brush, you're just going to ruin it, and you're just not going to get out of it what you want. And then your synthetic lesser brushes aren't going to feel as good, even though those brushes are going to be your workhorses. You're going to do 90% of your painting, if not more, with synthetic and or cheap synthetic brushes. It just, or if you're at another level, you're going to be doing base coats with airbrushes and stuff like that, and finishing up with like, a number 2 Raphael with a really good tip, or a 0 or 00 for, wherever you're at, right? But the question I posted on this, I was like, how long have you been painting? What type of models you paint, like D&D or fantasy or grimdark? What brand of paints are you using? Because if this guy or girl, I was a guy, I think, I don't remember, it was this person is using like apple barrel paints, you're never, even with like the fanciest brush, you're not going to get to the same level of craft paints as you would with really fancy paints. Or if he's using really fancy paints but they're not working for them because they're not thinning them properly or whatever. I mean, there's so many more questions. But my thing is, like, you're trying to up your brush game. I make sure you've painted enough, and I don't even get to paint enough. Where sometimes I use my synthetics all the time, and I'll use my fancier brushes for like finishing stuff. But like a lot of times I look at myself like, I have not painted enough in the last 3 weeks to really constitute using a brush of this level. So I don't know. Leave your comment below what you think the best advice to painters, to miniature painters are, from what brushes are good, and at what levels, and if you think there are levels of paint brushes. I really do. I think there's like super crappy, getting better, and then your first sable could be a more affordable sable, or it could be a fancier sable because you've been doing it long enough to appreciate. But like, I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say and what your opinions are of that, because I know my opinions, and I'm probably dumb and wrong about all this, but still, I'd like to hear below. Let me know. Thanks.